Secrets in St Barts Part 2. Chapter 6, Poolside Tension. It was one of those St Barts afternoons where the sun seemed to drip like honey, slow, golden, heavy with heat. The sky was blinding blue. Palm fronds shimmered in lazy waves. And the infinity pool stretched toward the sea, still and impossibly clear, like liquid glass poured into the edge of the world. Camille should have been in the kitchen, prepping dinner. But instead, she stood just inside the villa's rear gallery, hidden behind a carved wooden screen, eyes fixed on the scene outside. Luc reclined on a chaise lounge near the pool, shirtless now, a pair of navy swim trunks riding low on his hips, a book forgotten in one hand. Sunlight gilded the edges of his chest, caught in the fine lines of muscle and shadow. And draped across the lounger beside him, like she belonged there, like she always had, was Juliet. She wore a white one-piece that clung like wet silk and oversized designer sunglasses that reflected the clouds above. Her legs were long, bronzed, impossible. Her diamond earrings glinted even in daylight. She leaned on one elbow, close enough that her perfectly manicured fingers brushed the top of Luc's thigh with every laugh. A laugh that felt designed, engineered, to carry. Camille didn't know what Luc had said. But whatever it was, Juliet responded by tilting her head back, laughing as if he'd delivered the punchline of the century. She laid her hand flat against his chest, a gentle push as she smiled, and then she kissed him. Not deeply. Not romantically. Just enough. Just long enough for Camille to feel it like a slap. The kiss was a claim. Not affection. Not desire. Ownership. Camille turned away, not quickly enough to miss the way Luc's eyes drifted from Juliet's face to the pool, to the horizon, to nowhere at all. Not to her. Not this time. Back in the kitchen, Camille sliced carrots with surgical precision. Her fingers moved automatically, but her mind was a storm of emotion, confusion, jealousy, shame, rage. She hated herself for feeling anything at all. She wasn't a fool. Juliet had every right. She was the one with the ring. The one invited. The one who belonged. Camille was the help. A seasonal ingredient. Nothing more. But that night, after dinner service, a minimalistic seafood paella served on stoneware with saffron and lemon foam, Camille walked past the pool again. It was empty now. The lounges abandoned. The glasses half drunk and glistening with condensation. The scent of Juliet's perfume still clung to the cushions. And on Luc's chair, a book left face down. Camille reached for it. The spine was worn. Camus. Eletringa. She flipped it open. Inside, on the first page, a handwritten note in careful script. To Luc, when you feel like nobody sees you, read this again. The fire is still there. You just forgot how to look. Maman. Her breath caught. It wasn't just a book. It was a wound. She set it back gently, heart rattling. Juliet might have his skin. But Camille had just seen his soul. And it terrified her. Because the closer she got to Luc, the more she knew, this wasn't just dangerous. It was inescapable. Chapter 7, The Almost Kiss. It began with a storm. Not the kind that split the sky, not yet. This one built slowly, in the air between glances, in the brush of hands over the same silver tray, in the way Camille avoided Luc's eyes even when they were the only two people in the room. But storms don't ask permission. They arrive. And this one began in the wine cellar. The villa's wine cellar was carved into the rock beneath the house, cool and dim, a sanctuary of silence and stone. The walls were lined with bottles resting like precious artifacts, Burgundy, Bordeaux, champagne in crystal racks. Only the head butler and the chef were permitted inside without request. Camille descended the spiral staircase that afternoon with a clipboard in hand, checking inventory for the anniversary dinner being planned in secret for Luc's father. She wore a soft linen blouse, sleeves rolled up, and her hair pulled into a loose knot at the nape of her neck. The air down here was always different, colder, heavier. Like secrets lived between the bottles. She had just reached for a vintage rose when she heard the footsteps. Leather-soled. Slow. Unmistakable. Luck. He appeared in the archway, framed by warm, amber light from the hallway above. No jacket. Just a fitted white shirt, sleeves rolled, top 2 buttons undone. He looked tired, or haunted, but there was an intensity in his eyes that made her spine straighten. "I thought this area was off limits," Camille said, her voice quieter than she intended. "It is," he replied. "That's why I came here." He descended the last few steps without taking his eyes off her. Camille turned back to the shelf, trying to pretend she wasn't suddenly aware of the fact that they were completely alone. "I'm working." "I noticed." He stepped closer, not too close, but enough for her to smell the faintest trace of his cologne. Something woody. Expensive. Unapologetic. Camille tried to focus on the bottle in her hand. "What do you want, Luc?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached past her, slowly, his arm brushing hers as he picked up a bottle from the rack just above. Her breath caught. The contact was nothing. But it felt like everything. "To understand something," he said finally. "Understand what?" "You." Camille turned to face him, arms folded tightly across her chest, a paw shield against the way her pulse surged under her skin. "You don't need to understand me," she said. "You need to stay away from me. I've tried." His voice was low, rough. Honest. "I've tried," he repeated, more quietly. Silence stretched between them, not empty but charged, thick with everything they hadn't said. The air was cooler down here, but Camille felt flushed. Her throat was dry. Luc stepped closer. Close enough now that she could see the darker gold in the ring around his irises. Close enough that she could feel the tension between them like static before a lightning strike. "You kissed her yesterday," Camille whispered. "I didn't kiss Juliet," he said, "she kissed me." "There's a difference. She's your fiancée." He didn't blink. "She's an arrangement." "And what am I?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. Luc paused. Then, softly, "The only thing that isn't staged." That broke something inside her. And before she could stop herself, she reached up and pressed her palm to his chest, as if to push him away, as if to keep herself from falling forward. But he didn't move. And neither did she. Their faces were inches apart now. His breath was warm against her cheek. Her fingers curled in the fabric of his shirt. His hand hovered near her waist, not touching, but so close it made her ache. "You don't get to do this," she breathed. "I know. You don't get to want me and marry her." "I know." But he didn't move away. And neither did she. Then, a noise. Footsteps. Rapid. Unmistakably approaching. Camille broke from him instantly, stepping back like the heat had scorched her. Luc turned toward the cellar door just as the butler appeared at the top of the staircase. "Pardon, monsieur. Your father is asking for you." Luc hesitated, jaw clenched, breath still ragged, before nodding. "I'll be there in a moment." The butler disappeared. Luck looked back at Camille, who was now staring down at the wine rack, pretending to recheck the inventory with trembling fingers. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. He left. And Camille stood alone in the hush of vintage bottles and cold stone, her lips parted, her heartbeat roaring like the sea. It hadn't happened. Not really. But the almosts were sometimes worse than the real thing. Because now she knew how close she'd come. How close she wanted to be. And how much closer they might still go. Chapter 8, Rumors in the Sand. Camille had always known that luxury didn't mean privacy. In places like this, palatial estates on cliff tops, with their Italian marble and infinity pools, the air was always thick with unspoken rules and heavily spoken rumors. Silence wasn't a sign of peace, but strategy. Gossip was currency, traded behind closed doors or passed like contraband between pressed white linens. But she had underestimated how quickly she would become the subject. It started the morning after the wine cellar. Camille arrived in the kitchen earlier than usual, hoping to bury herself in prep before anyone else stirred. But something was off. The kitchen assistants, two local women, both sharp and soft-spoken, paused when she walked in. Their conversation stopped mid-sentence, and though they smiled politely, it was the kind of smile that meant, "We've already spoken about you." The dishwasher, usually loud with reggaeton and cursing in Creole, worked in total silence that morning. Not a word. Not a glance. Camille tried to ignore it. She cracked eggs. Kneaded dough. Whisked vinaigrette with a force that nearly shattered the bowl. By noon, the whispers had reached the garden staff. Camille overheard two of them, young men with sun-kissed skin and clipped accents, talking in hushed French near the citrus trees. "Madame Juliette won't stay quiet long," one said. "Not when he's looking at the chef like that. She's not even blonde. She's not even rich. Maybe that's the point." Camille froze behind a hedge, the shears in her hand still dripping with rosemary. Not even rich. Not even blonde. Not even one of them. That evening, Camille passed Juliette in the hallway outside the spa suite. The socialite didn't stop walking. Didn't say a word. But as she passed, she hummed a single, sarcastic note of amusement, as if to say, "Everyone knows. And you're laughable." Camille's cheeks burned hot. Later, she found Luc alone in the reading room, sitting in one of the oversized armchairs that faced the garden. A glass of scotch dangled from his hand. He hadn't even changed out of his linen shirt from the day before. "You're making it worse," she said quietly. He didn't look up. "I'm not doing anything." "Exactly." That got his attention. He turned toward her, brows drawn. "You think I should defend us?" "Announce it," he asked, voice sharp. "What exactly do you want me to say, Camille?" "I don't want you to say anything. I want you to act like it didn't happen," she snapped. "Because it can't. And everyone already thinks it has." Luc stood. He crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping inches from her. "You didn't seem so concerned about that in the cellar." Her mouth opened, but no words came. "I haven't touched you, Camille," he said. "Not really. But they're treating you like I have. Like you're disposable." Her voice broke then, a whisper. "Aren't I?" Luc's expression flickered, pain briefly visible behind the fire. "No," he said. But neither of them believed it. Not completely. By the time she returned to the kitchen that night, someone had moved her knives. A petty thing. But not an accident. The rumors were no longer whispers. They were daggers. And Camille knew something else now, something dangerous. It wasn't just the staff watching. Juliet was watching. The patriarch was watching. Even Luck's silence was a kind of spectacle, one the whole villa was reading like an invitation. And every step Camille took, every dish she served, every glance she exchanged with Luck, added fuel to a fire that was about to explode. Chapter 9, A Midnight Swim. The villa slept under a velvet sky. Moonlight draped the stone terraces in silver. The sea whispered in the distance, barely louder than breath. Somewhere deep in the hills, cicadas pulsed with rhythm, as if the night itself had a heartbeat. Camille floated alone in the infinity pool. The water was warm, slicking over her skin like silk. She wore a black one-piece swimsuit, modest but elegant, her hair floating around her in soft tendrils like seaweed. Her face tilted toward the stars, eyes closed, arms spread just beneath the surface. Up here, she could almost forget the whispers. The eyes. The heat behind Juliet's smile. She could almost forget Luck. Almost. Because every time she breathed in, he filled her lungs, memory, scent, voice, the tension in his jaw, the way he watched her like she was a puzzle only he was meant to solve. She sank lower, letting her ears fall beneath the waterline. Silence. Sweet, blue silence. Until she heard it, footsteps on stone. Slow. Barefoot. She surfaced. Luck stood at the edge of the pool, barefoot in dark slacks and a grey t-shirt that clung to his chest in the humidity. His hair was mussed, his face unreadable in the moonlight. The glow of the lanterns cast flickering light across his cheekbones, making him look both real and unreal, like something conjured from the night itself. Camille's heart leapt, not with fear. With recognition. They said nothing. Not at first. Just the sound of water lapping gently at the sides of the pool. Just the quiet between them. Luck stepped forward, kneeling down to rest his arms on the edge. "You're still awake," he said. "I couldn't sleep," Camille replied, voice barely above a whisper. "Neither could I." His eyes never left her. There was no distance between them now, not emotional, not physical. The air shimmered with tension, soft and slow like a drawn-out breath. She floated closer without meaning to, her arms gently sculling, the water carrying her toward him. When she stopped, she was inches from the pool's edge, and from him. Their eyes locked. Her breath caught. So did his. Luck's hand slid forward. His fingers dipped into the water. They brushed against her wrist. Camille didn't move. Not away. Not anymore. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. Luck's jaw tightened. "Because I can't keep pretending," he said. "And I don't think you can either." She blinked, water beading on her lashes. "Tell me to leave," he whispered. "I will. Just say it." But she didn't. She couldn't. And in that fragile silence, everything they'd held back unraveled. Luck leaned in. Not fast. Not greedy. He waited for her to meet him there. And she did. Their lips met just above the water, soft at first, almost reverent, as if testing whether the world would end if they finally touched. It didn't. So the kiss deepened. Luck's hand slipped behind her neck, pulling her closer. Camille's fingers gripped the edge of the pool, then slid upward, threading into his damp hair. The kiss became something more, hot, desperate, starved, the collision of weeks of longing pressed into a single breathless moment. Her body pressed against the pool wall, against him, soaked in moonlight and tension. She felt like she was being devoured, and she didn't care. She welcomed it. She needed it. His mouth moved to her jaw, her throat. She gasped. Her legs trembled beneath the surface. "Camille," he breathed against her skin, voice low and rough. "You undo me." She pulled back just far enough to see his face. He looked raw. Unmasked. Not the heir. Not the perfect fiancé. Just luck. Just a man. She pressed her forehead to his. "This can't happen again," she whispered. "I know. But I don't want to stop." "Then don't." They kissed again, slower this time. Less fire, more ache. A promise and a warning. And then she pulled away, drifting backward into the pool. Luck stayed where he was, chest rising and falling, watching her. Neither of them said goodnight. Because nothing about tonight had been good. It had been everything. As Camille swam to the far edge, breathless and shaking, she realized something with perfect clarity. There was no going back now. Not to caution. Not to silence. Not to pretending. Whatever line they had tried not to cross was long gone behind them. Chapter 10, The Paparazzi Strike. The morning sun rose too fast, too bright, like truth breaking through a dream. Camille stood barefoot in the kitchen, fingers numb around a chipped espresso cup, staring down at her phone in disbelief. She hadn't touched her coffee. She hadn't even looked at her prep list. Everything in her body had frozen the moment she opened the article. Her name wasn't in the headline. Not yet. But it didn't need to be. Exclusive, billionaire Luc Delacroix caught cheating in St Barts. Private midnight swim turns scandalous, who's the mystery woman in the pool? Below the headline, a grainy photograph stretched across the screen. The image wasn't sharp, it had clearly been taken from a distance, likely from the cliffs just west of the villa. But the shapes were undeniable. Luc. Leaning over the pool. His hand on a woman's face. A kiss. Their kiss. Even blurred by distance, Camille could see the unmistakable curve of her shoulder in the water. The angle of her neck. The silhouette of intimacy. Her stomach dropped. Somewhere above the kitchen, doors slammed. Voices rose, sharp, clipped, unmistakably French. Juliet. The staff had already seen it. Camille knew. She could feel it in the silence. The way the pastry girl wouldn't meet her eyes. The way the sous chef whispered in corners, pretending to check dates on the milk cartons. Everyone was watching her now, not with curiosity, but judgment. With satisfaction. The kind that only comes when the story is juicier than expected. Camille didn't speak. She didn't defend herself. She just cleaned her station. One tomato at a time. By noon, it was everywhere. Instagram. Twitter. The fashion blogs. Society gossip accounts. Even one headline in a British tabloid, saucier scandal, billionaire's poolside chef kiss sparks summer storm. Luc hadn't come downstairs. Juliet had, dressed in a silk kaftan the color of fire, oversized sunglasses, and a diamond cuff Camille was certain had not been there yesterday. She strolled through the villa like a queen in exile, issuing soft, venom-laced instructions to the staff. Camille caught fragments, find out who leaked it. No comment, for now. Let him come crawling. I dare him. Camille stayed in the kitchen, but the villa was too small for hiding. Not when your scandal had gone global. By mid-afternoon, a message came from the butler. Monsieur Delacroix requests you meet him in the gallery. Now. Camille's hands stilled over the lemon tartlets she had been pretending to garnish. Her legs moved before her brain gave permission. The gallery was empty, except for Luck. He stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, the sea behind him violent and shining. He looked different today. Not disheveled, but not polished either. Just undone. Unraveled. Like the man she'd met in the wine cellar. He turned when he heard her steps. His face was unreadable. They know, she said quietly. Luck didn't answer. She stepped forward. Do you know who took it? A tourist, he said, voice hollow. Climbed the rocks behind the villa. Probably sold it before they even left the island. Camille pressed her lips together. Do you think Juliet? Juliet's too smart to need a camera, he interrupted. She can destroy someone with a look. A pause. And she will. Camille's throat tightened. You should deny it. Say it wasn't me. Luck blinked. Slowly. You want me to lie? I want you to survive this. His voice turned steel. Camille. No, she shook her head. You're engaged. You're a Delacroix. I'm a chef with a paper contract and an agency that's already getting calls from lawyers. Luck stepped forward. His hand brushed her arm. She flinched, not from fear. From the ache of it. I don't care what the headlines say, he whispered. You will, she said. They all do. Eventually. She didn't cry until she got back to the kitchen. Not loud. Not messy. Just a few silent tears slipping down her cheeks as she wiped her station again and again and again, even though it was already clean. Because everything had changed. They hadn't meant to fall into each other. But the world didn't care about intentions. It cared about scandal. That's the end of this part, but trust me, the next one is even more thrilling. We drop fresh episodes every day, so don't miss out. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned, you won't want to miss what's coming next.
Thanks for listening to Billionaire Romance Stories, where love meets luxury in the most unexpected places. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing your favorite twists and favorite theories. And don't forget to ring that bell, because in this world of yachts, secrets, and luxurious romance, the next story is always one click away.